They laughed. Right in her face. All she did was ask for the penthouse suite. But because she was a black woman dressed in plain clothes, walking in alone, they didn't take her seriously. They smirked, whispered to each other. One of them even chuckled out loud, like it was the funniest thing they'd heard all day. She stood there, holding her head high, even as they looked at her like she didn't belong. But what they didn't know was that she wasn't just anybody. She had come from nothing, built an empire from the ground up, and she didn't come there just to rent a room. She was the storm they never saw coming. And by the time she was done, every single one of them wished they'd treated her with respect. Because she didn't just stay in the penthouse, she bought the entire hotel. Danielle was exhausted. Another red-eye flight. Another business meeting. Another city. All she wanted was a quiet night to herself. So when she stepped into the luxury hotel lobby, she didn't expect trouble. She looked around. It was beautiful. Marble floors, golden lights, fresh orchids, everything screamed wealth. But Danielle wasn't intimidated. She walked to the front desk, pulling her carry-on behind her, dressed in a clean beige blouse, black jeans, and sneakers. No designer logos, no makeup, just confidence. She smiled politely at the receptionist and said, "Hi, I'd like the penthouse suite, please. I can pay up front." The young woman behind the desk paused, looked Danielle up and down, then forced a tight smile. "Ma'am, the penthouse," she repeated, like she didn't hear it right. Danielle nodded. "Yes, the penthouse." Behind the counter, two other staff members whispered to each other. One of them didn't even bother hiding his grin. Then he said loud enough for Danielle to hear, "Are you sure you're in the right hotel, ma'am?" Danielle froze for a second. Not because she was unsure, but because that sentence wasn't new to her. She stood a little taller and said calmly, "Yes, I am. Do you need my card?" But the receptionist didn't reach for it. She just kept smiling that fake smile and said, "I'm sorry, the penthouse is currently unavailable." She hadn't even checked the system. Danielle said nothing. She just looked at each of them, memorizing their faces. Then she quietly picked up her bag and walked out the door. Danielle stayed calm. On the outside she looked collected, polite, even. But inside, she felt a burning heat, humiliation that crawled under her skin. She had asked for one thing, one simple thing, and they treated her like a joke. The receptionist kept shaking her head. "We have other rooms, more affordable ones. No penthouse. It's booked." All said without even checking the system. Danielle kept quiet. She knew what this was. She had faced it her whole life. Invisible walls, doubts cast just because of how she looked. Then just minutes later, a man walked in, a well-dressed white man. He smiled and greeted the staff. They smiled back, with real smiles. They offered him the penthouse suite, champagne on arrival, a warm welcome like he was royalty. Danielle watched from a distance. Her heart clenched, but her face stayed neutral. She turned and walked away. No words, no confrontation. Inside though, her mind was racing. The anger, the sadness, the determination. She took out her phone and dialed. A calm voice answered on the other end. "I've found it," she said. "The hotel, the one we talked about. Let's go through with the offer." Her voice didn't shake. It was quiet, sure, but beneath it was a promise. She wasn't done. Not by a long shot. Danielle's story didn't start in a penthouse suite. It started in a small cramped apartment on the wrong side of town. She was raised by a single mother who worked 2 jobs just to keep the lights on. They didn't have much, sometimes not enough to eat. But what they lacked in money, they made up for in love and strength. From a young age, Danielle learned the harsh truth of the world. People judged her before they even knew her name. She faced racism and discrimination everywhere she went, at school, in stores, even at job interviews. "Why bother?" they'd say. "You'll never make it." Those words burned in her ears like a never-ending echo. But instead of breaking her, they pushed her. While other kids her age were out having fun, Danielle was working, cleaning houses, waiting tables, doing whatever job she could find to pay for college. She didn't have time for distractions. And slowly, piece by piece, she built her life. She studied hard. She dreamed bigger. She never lost sight of her goal. Eventually, she launched a tech company, a wellness app designed specifically for Black women. It was something she cared about deeply, a way to give back to a community that had been overlooked for too long. The app took off. Millions of users, major partnerships, and before she turned 30, Danielle became a multi-millionaire. But despite all the success, she never flaunted it. No flashy cars, no designer clothes. She stayed humble, focused on her mission to help others. Now she was ready for the next chapter. Investing in a hotel chain. A place where people from all walks of life could feel respected, no matter what they looked like or where they came from. She wasn't just chasing money, she was chasing change. Danielle hadn't just walked into that hotel by chance. For weeks she'd been scouting locations all across the city. That hotel, the one where the staff laughed at her, was on her short list. She knew its history, she knew its struggles, but the people working there had no idea who she really was. They didn't realize the woman they mocked was a serious buyer. Back at her office, Danielle met with her team. They gathered around a large table covered with spreadsheets, financial reports, and market analyses. "Here's what we're looking at," Danielle said quietly, pointing at the numbers on the screen. The hotel was bleeding money. Its profits had been shrinking for years. Management was losing control. "It's a risk," one of her advisors said. "But with the right vision, it could be a gold mine." Danielle nodded. She wasn't afraid of risks. She saw opportunity where others saw failure. That night, she signed the papers. Her offer was submitted the very next day. At first, it was anonymous, made through her investment firm to keep things discreet. The hotel owners didn't know who the mysterious buyer was. Within a week, the offer was accepted. The sale went through quietly. And just like that, Danielle was the new owner of the very hotel where they had laughed at her. She didn't say a word. She let the news speak for itself. Because sometimes, the best revenge isn't loud, it's silent. And powerful. A week later, Danielle returned. The hotel lobby looked the same. Marble floors, bright lights. But this time the atmosphere felt different. The regional manager stood by the entrance, a proud smile on his face. "Everyone, may I have your attention?" he said clearly. The same staff members who had laughed at Danielle were called to the lobby. They exchanged confused glances. What was going on? Danielle walked in with quiet confidence. She stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. "I believe you told me the Penthouse was unavailable." They looked at her, still unsure. She smiled, just a little. "Good news. It's available now. And I own it." Their faces fell. The receptionist who had stared her down stammered. "I didn't know." The man who laughed. He quickly looked away, unable to meet her eyes. Danielle didn't yell. She didn't raise her voice. Instead of raising her voice or making a scene, Danielle reached quietly into her bag and pulled out a neatly folded letter. The room was tense, filled with a heavy silence that seemed to press down on everyone. She handed the letter to the regional manager with steady hands. He took it, surprised by the calmness in her voice and demeanor, and slowly unfolded the paper. His eyes scanned the words, and then he cleared his throat, the sound breaking the stillness like a crack in glass. The letter was a formal notice of termination, for all 3 staff members who had treated her with such disrespect, for the coldness, for the prejudice, for the humiliation they thought they could hide behind smiles and casual laughter. They didn't realize that their small acts of cruelty would come back to them in such a powerful way. Danielle didn't want revenge. She didn't want to be bitter or angry. She wanted justice. Justice for herself. Justice for every person who had ever been judged before they had a chance to show who they really were. As the regional manager finished reading, the 3 employees who had mocked her looked down, their faces pale and speechless. The receptionist who had smirked, the one who had whispered to his colleague, and the one who had laughed outright. They all stood frozen, caught in the weight of their own actions. Across the lobby, other staff members watched quietly, some surprised, some relieved. These were the employees who had greeted Danielle with respect and kindness from the start, those who saw beyond her appearance and treated her like a valued guest. Danielle made sure they were recognized. They were praised openly. They were given promotions, bonuses, opportunities to grow within the hotel's new vision. Her message was clear and loud, without needing to raise her voice. Respect isn't optional. No one should ever be judged by the color of their skin, the clothes they wear, or where they come from. That day, the hotel changed in a way no one could have predicted, because Danielle didn't just buy a building. She bought a chance for something better, a chance to rewrite the story of that hotel, and maybe even the city around it. But Danielle wasn't done yet. Owning the hotel was only the beginning. She poured her time, her money, and her heart into the place. Renovations started immediately. Fresh coats of paint brightened the walls. New furniture replaced the old worn pieces. Lights were changed to create a warm, welcoming glow instead of cold, harsh fluorescence. But the biggest change wasn't just in how the hotel looked. It was in how the hotel operated. Danielle understood that true change meant transforming the culture. She revamped the entire hiring process, making sure no one was judged by their appearance or background. She brought in diversity training for every single staff member, lessons on respect, empathy, and fairness. She wanted the hotel to be a place where everyone felt valued and welcomed, no matter who they were, and she didn't stop there. Danielle created internship programs specifically designed for young people from underserved communities, young people like herself, who just needed a chance. She wanted to open doors she never had access to. Word of Danielle's bold changes spread quickly. The media caught on to her story. News outlets praised her leadership and courage. She was called a trailblazer, a visionary, a force for good in an industry that often ignored these issues. And the hotel. It blossomed into the city's flagship for luxury and respect. Bookings soared. Customer reviews raved about the warm, professional service. People came not just for the comfort, but for the feeling of being truly welcomed. It became more successful than anyone could have imagined. Even some of the former staff who had mocked her came back, desperate to get their jobs back. But Danielle's decision was final. Respect had a price. And she was done giving second chances to those who didn't deserve them. She wasn't interested in punishment. She was interested in change. Danielle wasn't just a businesswoman now, she was a symbol of transformation. Proof that sometimes, the greatest power comes not from fighting hate with hate, but from rising above it. From turning pain into progress. From using every hurtful word as fuel to build something better. And as Danielle looked out at the hotel she had made her own, she knew this was just the beginning. The real work of hope, of respect, of true equality, was just getting started. If you believe in standing up against injustice, and turning setbacks into strength, please like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more inspiring stories. Don't forget to share this with someone who needs to hear it today. Danielle stood in the penthouse. The city spread out before her like a sea of lights. The buildings twinkled, their windows glowing like tiny stars against the dark night sky. But as beautiful as the view was, her mind wasn't on the glittering city below. She closed her eyes for a moment, took a deep breath, and whispered, "We made it, Mama." Her voice was soft, almost a secret, like she was sharing this moment with someone very close. She thought about her mother, how hard she worked. How many sacrifices she made, so Danielle could have a better life. All those nights when money was tight and hope felt far away. Her mother's strength had been the foundation she stood on now. Danielle's heart swelled with gratitude and pride. But then, her thoughts shifted. She thought about how many people never get a chance to show who they really are. People judged before they even open their mouths, judged by the color of their skin, by the clothes they wear, by where they come from. It wasn't fair. She hoped that her story, the journey she'd been through, would change that. That it would remind people that true worth can't be measured by skin color or what someone owns. It's measured by something deeper, by courage, by kindness, by strength you carry inside, even when the world tries to tear you down. This wasn't just about buying a hotel. It was about breaking down walls, about standing tall when others tried to push her down, about quiet strength that speaks louder than words, and poetic justice that comes when you least expect it. She knew the road ahead wouldn't always be easy. There would be more challenges, more battles to fight. But for the very first time, she felt truly seen. Not just for what she had, but for who she was. And that feeling was worth everything. If this story inspired you even a little, don't forget to like, comment, and share your thoughts. Subscribe to the channel for more powerful real-life stories that remind us all never judge a book by its cover. See you in the next video.